There is a man watching this video who is your age, earns exactly what you earn, and has 4 times your net worth. He is not doing better than you. He is doing worse, and if nothing changes, he will retire with less money than you, despite being 4 times ahead today. I know how that sounds. Let me earn it. 2 men, both 38, both earning $95,000 a year before tax. Same city, same job market, same bracket. Their names are Ryan and Brian, and for the rest of this video, they are the only 2 data points that matter. Ryan rents. His entire net worth is $60,000, and all $60,000 of it sits in an index fund he can sell on a Tuesday afternoon if he wants to. He saves 18% of his gross income. That is $17,100 a year, every year, automatically before he ever sees it. Ryan feels like he is drowning. Brian owns. He bought in 2019 at 31 a $280,000 house with 10% down. He financed $252,000 at 4% on a 30-year fixed. That house is worth about $421,000 today. He still owes roughly $216,000 on it. So his equity is a little over $204,000. Add $30,000 in his retirement account and $6,000 in checking, and Brian's net worth is $240,000. Brian sleeps fine. Run the division. 240,000 over 60,000. Brian has 4.01 times Ryan's net worth. Not 4% more. 4 times. Now take those 2 men and run them through every single video that has ever been made on this topic. Every list of signs you're doing well financially, every checklist, every benchmark, every rule of thumb. Do you have an emergency fund? Brian passes, Ryan passes. Is your debt manageable? Brian's mortgage is current and cheap. Brian passes. Is your net worth growing? Brian's grew $90,000 in the last 3 years without him lifting a finger. Brian passes. Are you above the average net worth for your age? Brian passes comfortably. Ryan fails badly. Do you own your home? Brian passes. Ryan doesn't even qualify to take the test. Every list, every single list. Brian passes and Ryan fails, and Ryan closes the video feeling exactly as far behind as he felt when he opened it, and Brian closes the video feeling reassured. Both of those feelings are wrong, and I am not going to ask you to take my word for that, because the entire problem with this genre is that it asks you to take its word for things. I'm going to show you the arithmetic, and then you can decide. Here's what every one of those checklists has in common, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. They all measure position. Position is where you are standing right now. It's a photograph. Your net worth is a position. Your account balance is a position. Whether you have 3 months of expenses saved is a position. Every sign on every list is a yes or no question about where you happen to be standing on the day you watch the video. But nothing about your financial future is determined by where you're standing. It is determined by which direction you're walking and how fast. That's not a position. That's a flow. And position and flow are not just different numbers. They are different in a way that makes one of them nearly useless as a signal. Hold position constant and let flow vary. 2 people, identical net worth, $100,000 each, same age, same day. One saves 20% of his income, the other saves nothing and inherited it from an aunt. On the day of the photograph, they score identically on every checklist ever written. 30 years later, they are not remotely the same person. Now do it the other way. 2 people both saving 18%, both invested identically, both 38. One has $300,000, one has $40,000. Why the gap? Maybe one started at 22 and one started at 32. Maybe one had a divorce. Maybe one paid for a parent's care. Here's the part that should bother you. Their positions differ by $260,000, and their behavior is identical. So what is that $260,000 gap actually measuring? It's measuring time. That's it. That's the whole variable. It's measuring how long each of them has been doing the correct thing, and it is reporting that back to them as a verdict on their character. That is what your net worth is. It is a number that mostly encodes how long you've been at it, dressed up as a score on how well you're doing. And this isn't a philosophical point. It's an arithmetic one, and I can prove it on the most famous benchmark in personal finance. In 1996, a book called The Millionaire Next Door gave America a formula. It is probably the most quoted test for whether you're on track ever written, and you have almost certainly been measured by it, possibly without knowing it. Here it is. Take your age, multiply by your annual income, divide by 10. That's your expected net worth. Hit it, and you're on track. Miss it, and you're behind. A 40-year-old earning $100,000 should have $400,000. Simple, memorable, and it's spread everywhere because it's the kind of thing you can do in your head at a dinner party. Let's audit it. Take a 25-year-old earning $60,000. His target is $150,000. He started work at 22, so he's had 3 years to get there. Suppose he saves every single dollar he earns. Not a high savings rate, all of it. He pays no rent, eats nothing, and invests 100% of his gross income at a 7% real return, which is the long-run assumption we use on this channel and which I'll label every time I use it. After 3 years, he has $192,894. He passes. Barely. And only by living on $0 for 3 years. But he passes. So the formula is not literally impossible, and I want to be straight with you about that, because I went into this expecting it to be, and the math said otherwise. Now let him save 15%, like an actual person. After 3 years, he has $28,934 against a target of $150,000. He is short by $121,000. To pass at 25, he needs to save 78% of his income every year, starting at 22. Now, here's where it gets interesting because something falls out of the algebra that nobody ever mentions. The income cancels. Look at it. The target is age times income divided by 10. What you can actually accumulate is your savings rate times your income times a compounding factor. Income is on both sides. It divides out and disappears, which means the required savings rate to pass this test does not depend on your income at all. It depends on one variable and one variable only, your age. So let's just compute it straight down the ages. At 25, the formula demands you save 78% of everything you earn. At 30, 29%. At 38, 13.6%. At 50, 6.2%. Read that again. The test demands 78% of a 25-year-old and 6% of a 50-year-old. It is savage to young people, and it hands out participation trophies to older ones. A 50-year-old who has saved 6 cents of every dollar he's ever earned, 6 cents, passes the most quoted test in personal finance and gets told he is a prodigious accumulator of wealth. So what is it measuring? Not your discipline, because the required discipline changes by a factor of 12 depending on nothing but your birthday. Not your income, because the income canceled. It's measuring how many years you have been alive and employed. Now, I'm going to be fair to the book, because the honest version of this is more useful than the satisfying version. Look at where your age falls on that list. If you're in your late 30s or 40s, the formula is asking you for something in the range of 8 to 14%. That's a demanding but reasonable test. For you at your age, it is a rough directional check, and it roughly works. It is only catastrophically broken at the young end, and it's broken there for one reason. The formula contains no term for how long you've been working. It treats a 25-year-old with 3 years of earnings and a 55-year-old with 33 years of earnings as though they should be held to the same standard, scaled only by age. That's not a small flaw. That's a missing variable. And that missing variable is the same one that's about to eat Brian alive. Before we run the two men forward, I need to take one number away from you because it is doing more damage to your sense of where you stand than any other figure in this genre. The average American salary is $59,428. You've heard it. It's on every list of signs you're doing well financially in one form or another. It's the anchor, and it's wrong twice in 2 separate ways, and the 2 ways point in opposite directions, which is how you end up feeling behind no matter what you earn. The first error is the population. That figure is computed across every earner in the country. 19-year-olds working part-time at a coffee shop, people who worked 4 months and went back to school, everyone. So when a 38-year-old hears that the average American earns $59,000, he's being compared against a pool dragged downward by people who aren't in his life stage at all. What's the actual median salary for a 38-year-old? $66,000. According to census data, the typical 38-year-old earns more than the average American because the average American includes teenagers. So if you're 38 earning $70,000, quietly measuring yourself against 59,428 and feeling okay about it, the reassurance you got was manufactured. You were compared to 19-year-olds and told you'd won. That's the first error. Now the second, which cuts the other way and cuts much deeper. That number is a mean. You add everyone up and divide by the count. And income is not distributed in a way that makes a mean meaningful. Stay at 38 and compare within his own cohort. The median 38-year-old earns $66,000. The mean 38-year-old earns $86,915. That's a gap of nearly $21,000 between two statistics describing the same group of people on the same day. The mean sits 32% above the median. Where does that $21,000 come from? Not from 38-year-olds doing well. From the tail. The top 1% of 38-year-old earners make $450,000 a year, nearly 7 times the median. And when you compute a mean, every one of those men gets to lift the number that a warehouse supervisor in Ohio is then invited to measure himself against. The mean is not the typical person. The mean is the typical person plus a subsidy paid by the rich into a statistic that is then used to make you feel poor. Put the two errors together. You're compared against a pool that includes teenagers, which flatters you.